This is Susan Bassi, and I'm going to use some video that I took back in 2020, a day apart. First, we're going to take you to San Mateo County, where I heard my first outrageous government conduct motion. Outrageous government conduct is a criminal defense. When someone has been charged with a crime, a criminal defense attorney can bring this motion to the court and tell them that the police, the lawyers, the district attorney, the government attorneys, and the public officials acted in such an outrageous manner that the criminal case must be dismissed. And the day after I heard that motion, I went up to San Francisco to the First District Court of Appeal, and that was where I heard a motion involving a family law matter where the decision was ultimately not published, and the attorney in that case was Garrett Daly. And I'm going to show you these two videos and how they were related. But first, this is an interview with freelance investigative reporter Michael Strogner and a former sheriff's deputy who wanted to run for sheriff. And when he was running for political office, he was arrested. And this is what happened in his words, and my very first interview on this kind of case.
That they were trying to use snitches to get you, like they did in Orange County.
Yes. To be clear, there are two types of snitches. The types of snitches that we saw in the Orange County snitch scandal, where over 57 cases were tainted because prosecutors lied and cheated in order to get a conviction, and innocent people went to jail and guilty people were set free as a result. The other kind of snitching just became a mandate for attorneys in California, and these attorneys are supposed to report other attorneys either to the state bar or to a tribunal, meaning a court or an agency that has an ability to do something about attorneys who are engaged in misconduct, just the way police officers often are.
The main thing is, for those particular charges, those are pretty simple to prove. You'd have a cell phone, and you'd have drugs, and somehow you would connect those two items to this gentleman.
They couldn't do it.
None.
So I heard today.
As a matter of fact, it's to the contrary. All the evidence showed that I had nothing to do with it, including their own inmate informant
who recanted immediately.
Who recanted during the interview with Inspector Draper and said, you know what, I really made a mistake. It wasn't Juan Lopez. He had nothing to do with it. It was this other person. And after that, they
withheld that from one's attorneys.
They didn't put that in the written report. They excluded it. As a matter of fact, the search warrant that started this whole thing for my cell phone, the investigator called himself twice from his desk to the contraband cell phone, which was in his possession.
So he knew the number.
He had the contraband phone. Then he calls that phone twice.
In the interview you recorded?
No.
And then he makes a report to the judge to get a search warrant.
An affidavit.
An affidavit signed, says under oath, this is true.
Wow. Is that the case that got dismissed?
Right.
Because I heard one thing say,
yes.
and he gave false information to the grand jury?
Well, not only that, and what he said was...
Did he get in trouble for giving false?
Absolutely.
So if I do an SB 1421 records request for dishonesty, will I find those in those records?
No.
So here's what we need to make sure everybody understands. Is there's all these SB 1421 records, but if the judges aren't reporting the police officers, which that judge today was certainly not going to do, and if they're not reporting them from internal affairs or other authorities, there's nothing in a record to get through SB 14.
And you just saw it today, but you already know about it.
Yeah.
That there's no way to get to the record.
So all they did was dismiss it, and they did nothing against him for filing a false.
And here's what happened. They kept those charges on one for 3 years, and they actually went to a grand jury and got him indicted on those charges.
On the eve of the preliminary hearing, because we had requested discovery, which would prove what I was saying, that this was all false. This was all.
And the DA already knew who brought the phone in because the guy admitted it. And it was one of the correctional officers.
And on top of it all.
Okay, so I'm going to need...
It doesn't matter if you're involved in a criminal or a family law or a civil case. We need the courts to function. We need them to be accessible, and we need them to be fair. And that means we need judges following the law and considering all the evidence, not just evidence based on which attorneys they like. And what was so disturbing about this other family law case out of San Mateo County is that it involved a lot of lawyers paying millions of dollars to address the First Amendment issues surrounding a divorce case. And when the final decision of the Court of Appeal was finally issued, telling the trial court whether or not the judge had followed the law, the Court of Appeal issued a decision but didn't publish it. And that means it won't be case law. That means that the people who spent all that money to make sure they had the right, the First Amendment right, to post on Facebook, won't be able to use that in other divorce cases in the future. And so it was essentially money down the drain. It was all those years of not being able to post photos about their children and what they felt about their divorce case to warn others about what was happening in the family courts. And when our courts, meaning our government, acts badly, it can affect our laws and it can affect other people that will come after us. And so when our government is meeting in secret and deciding how they are going to put things online and how reporters will be able to find it, lawyers will be able to find it, or even members of the public, that's a problem. And when this decision was issued and it wasn't published, it was a lot of money down the drain, and it was also a lot of years that were wasted for this family. And so we are continuing to report on the courts, and we're reporting on the lawyers and how they behave inside of those courts and what the judges and the police officers do about it. And this was the attorney for the husband in that Facebook First Amendment case, and this is how he behaved when a reporter was asking him some questions.
Involved in this case today.
Okay. Well, nice to meet you.
Because you must know, you were just telling them that you thought it was corrupt down in Orange County with private judging, but you must know that Rule 2.818, none of you are complying with that. Do you want to talk about private judging? Because I really would like to talk to you about private judging. Mr. Daly, you make a lot of money.
And there it was, the famous money shot for Garrett Daly. I started talking about how much money he was making in all of these cases, where he not only is the lawyer on the appeals, but he also operates a business teaching other lawyers and judges about appeals. He has become the expert, but when you talk about the money he's making and try to shed a little transparency on how he's doing it, he became hostile and hit me twice when I brought that issue up.
Career in the Elkins case, representing pro-pers, and now you are involved in sanctioning people. You are involved in going after vexatious litigants like you did Diana Dong for Brad Baugh. Mr. Daly, are you aware of that? We can go all day long and I'll report you to the police for touching my camera. That was very un-appellate attorney-like conduct. Mr. Daly, you do not have a right to touch a photographer's video. You will be on YouTube by tomorrow. And I'm happy, oh good, you're going to the same level I am with my car. We can chat about this in the elevator. Mr. Daly, you just physically accosted me in my camera.
Somehow we've gotten to a point in our society where when lawyers cheat, they aren't held accountable. And even going to the police and reporting a lawyer is pretty much an exercise in futility, because nothing ever happens when you report it, either to the police or to the district attorney or even to the state bar. But we have to keep filing those reports. We have to keep understanding our government, and we certainly have to keep watchdogging our government, because until we do, nothing is going to change. And if we have to put attorneys up on video and talk about the unpublished decisions that the courts don't want us talking about, then that's what we're going to have to keep doing.
What is your name?
Liggins. I'm going to give it
Oh,
to you.
yeah, you sent it to me anyway. Thank you very much, Michelle. I appreciate it.